was very clearly a man's world, and women did not do anything significant for the most part back then. They offered some chance for women to work abroad, well, a couple of us only per year. So I was very lucky to be chosen to work at their London branch for 2 years. And there was really no discrimination. And for the first time, I saw how women perform the same duties as men. And I woke up finally. I wanted to pursue my own career. I wanted to become an equity analyst and a fund manager. So, in addition to working full time at the bank in London, I started studying for my CFA exam, both the Japanese and the international version. And I also attended the evening courses at the university. So after I returned to Japan, I decided to move to a foreign firm where options to women were more equal versus the Japanese banks. And I believe I made the right choice back then. I'm now a Japanese equity fund manager at BlackRock. And previous to this, I worked over 15 years, also in the investment and research area at Fidelity Japan. And luckily, though the industry I work in still has much fewer professional women than men, foreign asset management firms like Fidelity and BlackRock have no discrimination based on gender. The firm is very supportive of women, and I had been very lucky to have good colleagues who understand that sometimes working mothers need extra help. And most importantly, I have a very supportive husband and parents who helped me out in countless ways as we raised their daughter together. Also, I did resort to outside professional help in the form of babysitting and house cleaning, for example. I think it's really important to acknowledge that your job as a mother or wife or any other role is indeed a full-time job. In addition to your outside job, maybe at a company or at your own company. And it's really not possible to do 2 or 3 or 4 jobs at once. And you must get help. You must have contingency plans for emergencies because things do happen. I'll stop here, but I really hope to discuss other helpful tips later on if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Rie-san. That indeed was a wonderful journey. Thank you so much for sharing with us. May I please request Lavanya to share with us your professional journey, how it has been so far? Over to you, Lavanya.
Thank you. I'm glad to be part of this group discussing one of my favorite topics, I would say, women leadership. And it necessarily doesn't mean issues. It's got opportunities. So I would like to focus a lot more on that. A brief glimpse into my career. I did not begin in my corporate career at the early age. I come from a creative background with a PhD in films and technologies. I used to work more on the creative side of it. Writing was my passion. And I was teaching at the university as associate professor before I took a jump into the corporate career, late 90s. And when I started moving across industries, but also moving across departments. So I was not just in communications, but I did marketing, sales, P&L, business management. So depending on what was knocking as an opportunity, I took the career as it came in. I've been with companies like Lexmark, Patni Computers in India, worked with Reliance Industries, Then I moved to an American company called Eaton Technologies before joining Nissan, which is 8 years back. And within these companies, I've worked across the world. It gave me an opportunity to really talk to many nationalities, many cultures, many languages, working with different people. So when I talk about diversity, for me, it's not just about gender, it's about the cultural language, as well as psychographic diversity that we could bring to the table. Then in Nissan, I've been in India at the beginning, then moved after 4 years to Bangkok to head communications for Asia Pacific, before coming to global to lead the role of communications here. And it's been close to a year since I came to Japan. Most of it has been consumed by COVID, so it's been more online than physical, but it's been a wonderful experience. Yes, I think we'll be discussing a lot more in terms of how our journey has been as women. But just a few words, we do come across barriers, but we also have biases. But I was explaining to this group the other day, it's also how we treat ourselves that makes the difference for women. So I think happy to be able to discuss this. I'm not going to speak as an expert in this. I think it's more about sharing what I went through and listening to others to really understand where we are and how we can go together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lavanya, for sharing your views and your journey with us. So our third speaker, Miho-san, can I please request you to go as a next and share your professional journey with all of us?
Yes.
Over to you, Miho-san.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, and I am so grateful to join this webinar with such a top professionals in Japan. And my journey started in a startup. So I have startup background. So I was working for 2 startups before coming to Tokyo. And one of the reasons that I came to Tokyo was one of the startups that I worked for was growing so fast. So it was in Osaka, but the CEO was like, let's go to Tokyo to find more market. So I decided to come with him. However, the startup went to almost bankrupt right after I came to Tokyo. So it was manufacturing company. So all the products were recalled. And I think CEO fired almost 70% of the colleagues. So I lost everyone. Then also it was very hard because I was working as a PL marketer at the company, but there was no PL thing to do at the time. So I decided to find different career in Tokyo. And then I found a job, and that was about the government project to support entrepreneurs. And I was working in a corporate to do that project with Tokyo Metropolitan Government, and I was supporting entrepreneurs. And and I was working for that project for the previous few years, but I found there are still many entrepreneurs who couldn't find where to get help, although the government project was supposed to help all the procedures for startups. So I thought I can do something else, maybe what if I can work along with them by doing the same procedures with them. So I decided to launch my own business called Startup Japan. And now I am internally helping startups and understanding more what's actually going on within startups owned by international entrepreneurs. And I help with the incorporation process and also create legal documents for these business owners. And yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miho-san, for sharing your journey with us. And thank you, everyone, once again. I think it's really inspiring for a lot of us to hear from you. So my next question would be around the challenges. And despite whatever journey we have, we face a lot of challenges on daily basis to grow up the ladder and also in our daily life. So I would request each one of you to please share what challenges you faced. Some of challenges you already mentioned, but more specific, when you decided to move further, what kind of obstacles or difficulties you had. So can I please request Riesan to go next and share what were the challenges you faced in your journey? Riesan, are you there?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay. So the real challenge for me was what was really outside my control. And the biggest one was when my child got sick with the flu, fever, virus, you name it. And this always happened very suddenly. But obviously, I cannot take her to the nursery or school. I need to take her to the doctor. I need someone to look after her when I was at work. And in order to cover this risk, I always needed a double, triple contingency plan. So if my husband is not available, then my parents, if not my parents, the babysitter, and so on. Obviously, if possible, I would take the day off. And in order not to cause trouble for my colleagues at work, I always prepared whatever I can prepare in advance. So if I can't attend, worst come to worst, then my colleague will be able to take over using my preparation, my notes. For example, when my daughter was 1 year old, she had to be hospitalized as she had pneumonia. And I stayed at the hospital with her overnight. And that is when our apartment got robbed. 4 professional robbers. And it was obviously pretty devastating for us, but at least we were all right, unharmed. So my point is, anything can happen at any time. And whatever happens, you need to be prepared to face them one by one. And more help you can get, the better. So you have to be prepared for the what ifs. Thank you.
Thank you, Riesan. And I think those were real challenges beyond our control. Tough time comes, and I think we need our family, friends, and as you mentioned, the better we get help, better it is to overcome those challenges. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Lavanya, may I request you to please go next and share what were the challenges you faced? And as you mentioned, you have moved across industries, departments, and you started from PhD. So there might be multiple kind of challenges you might have faced in your journey, and we would be we would like to get some inspiration and what were the challenges you faced in your journey. So over to you, Lavanya.
Thank you. When you look back and think about challenges, it's very difficult to segregate whether these are professional or personal. Sometimes they overlap each other. Yes, I think we can't really say just women face challenges. Everybody faces challenges as we go about in the career. So some of the challenges we talk about may not specifically because of gender, but there are some which are very specifically because of gender. And I think I would rather focus on that because this is more about the women leadership session. I know Rie-san touched about the personal challenges, and I think most of us face those challenges as we have kids growing up, and when you have your young falling sick, or I think it's very true. We need a support system. We definitely need to build a support system around us, whether it's our own family or our own community or society, somewhere the support system. And the best part today is a lot of corporates recognize this issue that women face. And I'm very glad in my office when I sit in the coffee shop to watch. We have a crush within the office, and women bring their kids to the office, and the Nissan company provides daycare. And you could see all these kids being taken around when you're actually sitting and grabbing your cup of coffee at Starbucks. And it really feels good, because when I started my career, there was nothing like that. So there was no crush, there was no consideration from the corporate about, yes, young mothers do need support. So I used to remember the days when I would stand literally near the door, because I have to swipe at 6 o'clock. And I have to drive back, which would take me an hour to reach the daycare center, which would shut down at 7. So swipe and just jump into the car. And that moment of tension, if I just look at it right now, I wouldn't know how I got through it for an year or so, because I would come to the daycare to just see my daughter, only my daughter, sitting with the one teacher, waiting for me to pick up at the door. So I think those kind of feelings are something that you can always remember in your mind and think about it. We got through it, so we don't really necessarily feel that now. But from a professional point of view, there's one thing that I would like to always say. Most of the times, when we began our career, at least nowadays, it's changed. It changed quite a bit, because corporates are much more conscious about gender diversity. So you do have a lot of policies around promoting this. But when I began, it was a man's world. So most of the time as a leader, I would be the only woman sitting in the room. Look around and you won't have. And it's true. They say women are more emotional, but it's true. That is what we bring to the table, because our decisions are driven by emotions. This is the value we bring, but at that time, you really don't think about it as, yeah, you're bringing value through the emotions that you think about, or through your consideration for people. At that time, it was more like, okay, people are looking at you and saying, you can't make a rational decision because you're a woman, which is not true. So that's one, I could say, is one of the biggest challenges you face as if you've started as a leader very young and very early in those days. The second thing I would say is also the way women rate themselves. We seem to set standards for ourselves, which is much higher than what others would set. So we assume, because we need to compete in the man's world, we need to be better. So we kind of try to push ourselves harder, which should not be the case. And as you grow in your career, you understand that it's really not true that people are setting those standards for you. It's maybe you who is pushing yourself to say, if I have to survive, if I have to grow, I need to prove. There's no need to prove other than what anybody else would prove in their career. But we do take it to the heart. So I think I would say these are the two big challenges that come across every point in the career.
Thank you so much, Lavanya. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are still seeing as more emotional as compared to men, and sometimes that is not perceived well. And that is true. I think real challenge comes when we ourselves, we ourselves put in that position to feel inferior. So I think that is something we might need to improve by ourselves. And I am not sure how exactly other person can support in that, or even our colleagues, or even our bosses. So that is something which is really tough, but at the same time we have to overcome that challenge. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Miho-san, can I please request to go next, and what kind of challenges you faced in your journey and career? Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, first of all, I'm not a mom. I don't have kids. So probably it's better that like I talk from the perspective that experience both startup and corporate. And I think like I think the biggest challenge for startup is like regardless of the gender, I think like we have to be prepared all the time because we never know what's going to happen next. And for example, like it might go bankrupt in a year, or like who knows. And in a corporate, I feel more difference between middle-aged male workers and also female workers. So I didn't feel that difference in startups, because in startups everybody need to like work so hard because like there is no like enough like human resources. So everybody works hard, and like they don't really think of the gender role all the time. But in corporate, I think it was very different because, for example, the first job that I was given was making a copy for my boss. And the second job that I got was like picking up phone calls for 30 members around me, and like nobody picked up a phone call. I got the call all the time. And then the third job was like shredding 1,000 pages of documents from my boss after we finished all the work. So like I didn't experience that in startups. And when I saw the other male colleagues in corporate, nobody was asked to do that job. So it's very different. So yeah, these are the main this perspective, that very traditional perspective that women are supposed to, for example, serve tea or like making coffee for the boss, was the main challenges that I faced in corporate.
Thank you so much, Miho-san, for sharing with us. Okay, so my next question is specific to Rie-san, and I would like to ask, so finance is one of the most important area, whether it's at work or at home. So I would like to ask you to please share with us how women can manage finances at work and home so that we can take charge of how our life is going. And mostly because most of the time, like, men take charge of how finance and those topics being handled at home especially. So Rie-san, what would you advise or suggest women to be more financially independent and more aware of this?
Yeah, so thank you very much for your question. So just to begin with, first of all, if two parents are working and have two separate monthly inflows, I suggest that you decide in the beginning who pays for what. So there's rent, utilities, food, recreation, education, healthcare, and so on and so forth. And once that's taken care of, try to leave aside for the future after you retire. And I think, especially being Japanese, it's very dangerous to depend on your government for pension. And when you are saving, the key is to diversify, and diversify. Never put all your eggs in one basket. And depending on your age and the years till you decide to retire, try to decide among cash, bank savings, bonds, fixed income like the government treasuries, and stocks, equities. And also there's real estate, currency, lots of things. And you will need to do some studying here. And one thing to remember is do not invest your savings in instruments or things that you don't understand. That's very dangerous. So if you buy something, whether it's a company stock or a bond or treasuries or anything, make sure you understand what you're investing in and what the risks are. And only if you feel comfortable, invest. So don't blindly listen to your friends or your parents or your brokers. You have to do the studying yourself and do it early because it's very important for your future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rie-san. I think there are going to be a lot of questions, so we'll open up and take up questions after this panel discussion. So my next question is to Miho-san. And as you mentioned, you were working in a great organization and you were already earning, but you still decided to quit your job and take much more challenging role to be independent and to be boss of your own. So what was that motivation behind? And to our participant, what would be your advice to women who are still trying to be independent and who are still trying to have their own startup? So what would you advise, and what is your opinion where they can take their first step and have that courage which you had? So over to you, Miho-san.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. So first of all, I thought I have nothing to lose by leaving the job because I thought I can do better than what this organization is doing. So yeah, because in the corporation, there was so limitation, especially if it's under the government project, because there are so many rules and laws and regulations that we have to follow. And also, even if I create a proposal for the government, my manager sometimes deleted my name because they wanna just take that result for themselves. So I thought it's almost improbable to build my titles or result based on my name here. So yeah, and also working in a corporate, I found most of the female workers are not having titles. They rarely become managers in the corporation. They are working full time, but they're still contract worker that they can be resigned anytime, and their salary is much lower than males. So I thought it's kind of of course it depends on the organization, but from my experience and from what I thought, I thought it's kind of no point staying here and targeting the higher career in this organization. And also all of the moms in the organization was working so hard after cooking breakfast, cooking lunchbox before coming to work and waking up at 4 a.m. Probably most of the speakers did it, but then they work until 10 p.m. because the work didn't finish, and I thought I cannot do it, and I don't want to do it when I become mom, because my family had a own business. So and my house was also the company. So my parents' house is company. So whenever I go back home, my mom and my grandma was okaeri, and I could always see them. And that was one of the pressure that I had while I was a kid. So yeah, I think I thought if I become an adult and mom, I wanna, like, for example, welcome my kids like that. Like I wanna be with them. So yeah, because that was one of the pleasure that I had. And also, yeah, also like I found so many people like who don't judge like based on the gender, like after I quit the job, I think. So many of the startup partners are so like kind, and like they believed in like what I do, not because of I'm women, ladies, but like because I am pursuing my career to help startups and also legal procedures for them. So I could work with these people who believe in like what I do. So that was the great thing that I got after I quit the company. And also it's a bit kind of, how to say, like specialized area about like what I do, but I get so many like questions from the like Indian professionals, and most of the ladies that I met have dependent visa, and I think the important thing for them is thinking of how to get like help from the husband, and also like because for example if the husband has the regular engineer visa, then the dependent visa holders can usually work for 28 hours, usually part-time job in Japan. But if the husband has highly skilled professional visa, then you can work full-time and you have more opportunity, like career opportunity and all the like opportunities for the future as the professional living in Japan. So I think, yeah, thinking of what kind of resource you have and what kind of like human network you have are the two main things that you can think of when you start your company or business here.
Thank you, Miho-san, for sharing with us. Before going further, I would request Swapnali, and she will introduce Ryan, who has been a partner with us in organizing these webinars. So over to you, Swapnali.
Thank you very much, Swati. It's going great so far. We wish to take a quick break and bring our webinar partner, IPJ well-wisher from the beginning, Mr. Anand Shrisagar. He is the CEO of Rian. So handing over to you, Anand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Swapnali and Swati. Rian.io, as Swapnali mentioned, Rian.io has been part of IPJ since its inception. Sometime back I met few individuals who are doing business in Japan and who are also members of IPJ. They mentioned that they have seen meaningful growth in their business because of networking sessions that happened and that are happening in the IPJ. And I'm sure that hundreds of others are benefiting from this IPJ platform. So kudos to IPJ team, really well done. Also it is also great to be part of this women leadership in corporate versus startup session today. At Rian, we believe in inclusive culture, be it like with language or gender. And I'm very proud that our customer success, product ownership team, then we have a strategy department. It is led by passionate and laser focused women leaders. I've learned so many good things and insights from this session, and looking forward to learning all new things from wonderful leaders we have today. A few lines about Rian. So Rian is end-to-end translation software created by translators. We have developed the world's leading video translation platform that helps translate videos in much shorter time and at a much lesser cost. We are working with over hundreds of companies, including Udemy, Bayev, CreditSafe, many large IT companies in India and Japan, and some Fortune 500 companies as well. In just past few months, we have seen growth of 400% in revenue and 300% in clients. I'm very happy and fortunate to be part of the IPJ. We also have got a lot of benefit out of it. Again, happy to participate in this session as well, and looking forward to learning from the leaders. Over to you, Swapnali. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anand. Rian has helped us with this platform. So this meeting is on Zoom, which is provided by Rian. And we are also recording this webinar so that we can play on other social media platform. Rian has, thank you to Rian. They have provided the cloud storage as well to record this webinar. Once again, thank you, Anand, and over to you, Swati.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anand, and thank you so much, Swapnali. I would request Mr. Anand to please share Rian link on chat, so it will be helpful for all the participants to look after what Rian is doing.
Sure,
And
I'll do that.
thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
So my next question is to Lavanya. So being an Indian woman in such a diverse and global company, and since I am also in Nissan, so still not at a leadership position, but I would be very interesting to hear from you, and I think a lot of participants will would be looking forward to hear from you. Like, how do you manage to lead in such a diverse and global company, and what are some difficulties and challenges you face to be in such a position and to make decisions and to have this kind of decision making role? So over to Lavanya.
Thanks, Swati. Very interesting question, and it's kind of a daily discussion for us at Nissan, perhaps. Being one of the most diversified companies that you can find in Japan. Like I mentioned, it's not just about gender diversity, but we have diversity of nationalities, and there's a lot of multicultural elements that are there. It's interesting. One thing I think I would say the fortunate part is I come from India. So I think being born in a multicultural environment, being born in a country with multiple languages around you, I suppose most of us are brought up to be more receptive to the diversity of what we face today. This is something that I would say, and it has helped me in multiple countries. It's not just about Japan. You seem to have a natural ability to be more conscious and more patient when you deal with multicultural environments and language, especially because one of the most difficult things, and I wouldn't say Japan is very difficult, but it's the same case with Southeast Asia. I lived in Bangkok for 4 years, been traveling to Vietnam and Indonesia and all these countries, and language has always been the biggest challenge because I suppose in India, when you grow up and the times that I grew up, some of us have studied in English schools, but we were also exposed to people who did not study in English schools. And we've seen how many English speaking classes run in India with the obsession that we've got to learn the language, but you don't see the same amount of acceptance for English in these countries. And it does become difficult to convey, especially when you're working in a corporate environment and a bilingual environment. One of the biggest challenges is to be able to communicate. It's the basic that you have. Yes, because mostly everything happens in both languages. So, and both languages are not very similar. Especially working in communications, our biggest challenge is every language has its own expression, every language has its own words, and the meanings are different. So I'm kind of surprised. I just heard about the translation software. One of the biggest challenges we've got is translation. And when I was doing my university, I was doing a paper on translation, and I did publish a book translating stories from an Indian language to English. And we used to call it transcreation because you can never literally translate language. So this is one of the biggest challenges. The second thing that comes is a women working in a multicultural environment. There's a plus point. And this links to what I said is the emotional connect. So I think there is, we do have a little bit more patience and conscience, I would say, when dealing with other languages and other cultural elements that we face. However, we tend to, sometimes if you look at it, the way we express may not be something that's easily received by Japanese culture, which is a little bit more formal. And in India, you're not really that formal, but you fall somewhere in between, right? And we face this all the time. We've got Americans, we have French, we have Indians, and we have Japanese and Chinese, and each of them has a very different way of talking. It's a very interesting example I'll give you. My first week in Nissan, and I met one of these executives in R&D, and I was supposed to go and talk to him about, introduce myself and that. And I started talking, and in 15 minutes later, I realized he was actually looking at my hands because they were just moving, and they usually never move their hands. So I was feeling that, and they don't look at you, they're looking at your hands. So it was a very odd feeling, and in a moment I froze. I was like, why is he focused more on my hands? And I had to put my hands under the table just to free myself to start talking. But you could see that there's a bit of a cultural difference there, which comes in where you know that people tend to focus on maybe on your body language, which is different from their body language, on your expressions, which are completely different. I report to the CCO. I talk to him through an interpreter, and every day I talk to him through an interpreter. I did that all my life in Southeast Asia too, whether I was talking to governments or media or anyone, I have this interpreter next to me. At the beginning, it was a very odd feeling to have someone who may not understand what your words mean, literally translating them to somebody else. But after some time, you kind of assume that they are your voice, and the person disappears. And I was telling the interpreter yesterday that I've come to a stage where I don't recognize that the third person in the room anymore. It's like it just becomes like your voice is coming out, but it's coming out from somewhere else, not from yourself. So one of the things is that's a big challenge when you work in a multilingual environment. That's one. And the third one, and I don't want to take too much time, is also we do realize that corporates are very, very, very accommodating these days. Every corporate has KPIs on gender diversity. Every women's forum that I attend, people talk about how much has it increased in percentages. I think even Japan, even now, 18% is where we are in terms of gender diversity in corporates. And the Prime Minister, the ex-Prime Minister Abe-san was also trying to claim to say, we need to increase that in Japan. These are numbers, and these have always been numbers. How much ever efforts are being made, there is still a lack of women leadership in corporates still. And I wouldn't blame it's because of corporates, or I wouldn't blame because of biases or barriers, but there is an invisible glass ceiling that does exist. And it becomes even more harsher when you are a brown woman and working in an environment. And these biases are so inbuilt. Sometimes you don't feel it, but sometimes you do feel it. So it does exist, and how do we overcome a subject of discussion in many of the forums, I suppose.
Thank you, Lavanya, for sharing. My next question would be around the current situation which we all are facing due to COVID. And I think this has put all of us in a lot of challenges, because now we are virtually trying to motivate our teams and to have those daily discussion. And I think that it's quite challenging without having discussions face to face. So my question would be how you have managed to motivate your teams or to work with your customers and to conduct your business? So this question would be to all speakers, and may I request Miho-san to please go next?
To motivate customers, let's see. I think it's a bit off topic as like this women leadership thing, but like there are so many people struggling to overcome this situation, but still there are so many, I mean, like options that they can choose, and many of them like feel like kind of depressed because like they feel like there is only one way to choose, but it's not really true. So like I try to talk with them like as much as like say like before they make any decisions, because like always there are so many like things to research, but unless we are expert on this topic we don't know. So like I try to talk with them as earliest as possible so that they can see like they have like how many options they can take, and like if they take one way, then like what's gonna happen if they take like second way, like what they can do. For example, like right now it's very hard to enter Japan from abroad, but like so we can think of the several ways like how they can sustain their business while staying in Japan or while staying abroad. There are also some ways that they can communicate with their like potential clients or customers. So yeah, I like it's also like relating to like how we build career, I think, but I always think of several options to explore.
Thank you so much, Miho-san. Rie-san, can I please request you to go next and share with us? Yeah, and Miho-san, you are right. This is off the webinar topic, so it doesn't have to do anything with gender or women leadership. It's general, and I think it is worth sharing your views in that topic also. So Rie-san, can I please request you to share how you handled this situation and motivated your teams?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for your question. I think regarding, clients or colleagues at work, frequent communication is very, very important and really show that you really care. I think everybody needs love. And as for us, it must be really tough to work at home, especially if the kids are at home. I think it's very important to secure a private space for yourself, your work, even if it's a small space, so that you can concentrate. Also, I think it's important not to underestimate the attention needed by your kids if they're at home. And again, this is one full-time job, and you need to get help wherever possible. But on the brighter side, it's a special opportunity to be able to spend more quality time with your family, your partner, your kids, as you continue to work from home, because you can really save a lot of time. For example, needed to commute to work. And also, make sure you have time to relax, to exercise, time for yourself. You have to be kind to yourself. And work-life balance is just so important, COVID or no COVID. To be successful at work, to be happy as a working mother or a wife. And I really think that we should all be making this our highest priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Rie-san. May I request Lavanya to go next and share her views? Lavanya, you are on mute. Can you please unmute yourself?
Can you hear me? Sorry. Like I was just saying that this is a topic I've been writing for my CEO and COO for the past 2 months about leadership during pandemic, and there's so many elements to it. But the thing is, it was disruption, and it was disruption which wasn't planned. It was uncertain. So key things I would put it as that one is empathy. This is the most important part for leaders during this period. A lot of times when the work from home thing happened, there's still the bias about somebody is working from home. Your antennas go up. Are they really working? You know, you can come to office and go and spend 3 hours in a coffee shop. Nobody bothers. But if you're at home and you're working, still everybody is kind of monitoring you to saying, are you really working? So from that environment to a more trusting environment today, which is very, very important. So empathy, and what Riesan mentioned, and I think most of you must have watched a lot of videos that are popping up where news anchors are talking and their kids are kind of running around behind the scenes, and we all seem to enjoy it, and we seem to be more empathetic about that, because even today when the call began, I could hear kids' voices going in the background, and we have this happening every day when we do our team meetings. And but one feeling that comes out is we are more accommodating right now. We don't seem to complain about it. We seem to be more conscious about that and let people actually deal with it. The second thing is know always that it's a very tough time for everybody because human connection has been reduced quite a bit. So what they can do in an office, just come up and ask for help, they cannot, because there's always a natural barrier when it comes to virtual environment, where it's not as easy to just pick up phone and ask help, or it's not as easy to just send a mail and ask for help. That means this put more psychological pressure on teams. A couple of things that we've been doing as motivations is actually have this leadership open sessions. I do a coffee session every Friday for 30 minutes, which is open to all team members, not forced for them to join, but anybody who wants to just join and connect and feel that they're part of the team. And we don't talk anything to do with work. It's more about how things are going and how things are in the world and what's happening in the world. And it's just a connection that is established. And we diligently go through every week on that. It used to be called Zoom Coffee. Now it's a Teams Coffee, as we changed the platform that we are using for it. But the plus point is this, what is happening just now. So we're sitting in our home and we're connecting, and we're connecting to the world and talking. In our job, we moved digital. We've done product launches in the past 4 months, everything digital. So the media is comfortable, leaders are comfortable, employees are comfortable. So everybody seems to be comfortable with using technology today more than what we were comfortable earlier. And even people who used to complain about, I can't log into Zoom or I can't log into Teams, can log in right now, which is the best part of it. So I think that's important. And the third thing that really is important is the human element of work, because we have to understand that the work habits have changed and the way we work has changed. That means the practices and implementation. For example, how are you doing presentations versus how you're doing, how mails have become more and more important. Earlier, mails were more used to communicate information. Now they are also an important element of connection. So this is this consciousness that we need to really look at the way we work today and accommodate that in our planning. Planning and preparation, more important, because it needs more planning now than it was earlier. It's no longer easy to just do things because you're not together. So, and then the timings are different. People are at different stages. Some people are taking care of kids. they need to go to pick up their kids. So you need to do better planning, and rather than complaining, saying, oh, you got to come at this point of time to do. And third is take care of yourself. Self-discipline, very important, because virtual working means no end. You're not getting up to get ready. You're not getting up to take your transport to go to office. That means you're putting all that energy into work, and there is no end to it. And you're continuously working. So it's very important to take care of yourself. Self-care means you're setting a good example for others to take care of themselves as well. That's all I would like to say on that.
Thank you so much, Lavanya. So we are coming to end of panel discussion, but before moving to next question, we would like to take 3 questions. And now, if anyone has any question so far to any of the speaker, please, you can speak up.
Okay, so can I ask a question?
Yes, Prerna, please go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is for Lavanya. So Lavanya, I work for an American company, which is owned by a Japanese company. And in fact, I do like cultural training, leadership training, and I teach body language, etc. to Japanese staff. So the thing is like, there is no discrimination from my bosses because they are foreigners. But if I have to go for a client visit, so the Japanese salespeople have a problem because they don't want to take women with them. If they have to meet clients, they would like to take a white man with them. But if we have to deliver lessons, then they don't have any problem. But the first point of contact, they like to take white men with them. So me and my colleague, we don't have many women on our team, but we have been complaining to our boss all the time that we want to go and meet the clients too. So our boss is helpless because Japanese salespeople don't want to take women with them. So do you have any suggestions?
I think I heard this many times, Prerna. So I would say you're not alone in this. But this is exactly what I pointed out, is the cultural difference that exists. And it's not reluctance to take women, but in general, women participating in sales area is very limited in Japan. But you see there is a more and more corporate Japan is evolving. I would say that it's not what it is earlier. Right now, you could see the difference coming in slowly. All I can tell you is there is no mantra to sort this out, but actually sit down and talk to them. If they speak the language that you speak, it would be, and it helped me. And I'll give you one example. I have many Japanese men who are older than me who report to me.
Yeah.
Okay. It took me 8 months to break silence. But I persisted, and I tried different methodologies. First methodology was, can we have an informal discussion? There is nothing called informal discussion in Japan. So I usually go to Starbucks, Swati knows this, or to the 6th floor to just ask people to meet me. I tried that, it didn't work. So what I did was, I said every day, 15 minutes in the morning, you need to give me a brief about your day. Stop down. And it started like that. So they would prepare a slide and come every day. But now, after a certain period of time, they started loosening up and understanding that this particular session is not for formal presentation, but just to know that how we're going to plan the day. Okay, so persistence, I would say, is the only way you can get through this.
Okay.
So sit down, keep persisting, don't get demotivated if they're not listening, because you're making a difference, but it will be slow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a very important point to not take it personally.
And this is one lesson I've learned since I joined Nissan, is when Japanese say something, there is no underlining meaning, which is usually what Indians think there is always. Because
Yeah.
we have a tendency to think people don't mean what they say. But in Japan, people mean what they say. If they say, you send me these details, they're simply asking you to send the details, not to harass you.
Okay.
So that cultural understanding needs to come in.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prerna. Thank you, Lavanya. Do we have another question before we move to next part of panel discussion? Okay, so let's finish this panel discussion and then we can have Q&A. So my next question is again to all speakers, and we have a mixed group of participants today. So some women, they are already working, and some women, they would like to start again. But I have heard that women, they face a lot of challenges in terms of lack of motivation or insecurities, and most of the time self-doubts, and they feel really reluctant to start again. So what would be your advice and quick suggestions to them to come out of those insecurities and start once again? So I would request Rie-san to please go next.
Sure. Thank you for your question. So this will always be very difficult for anyone. But no matter what, I think it's very important to always remember that you have already been very successful of taking care of yourself, your partner, your family, your kids. And that in itself is a great achievement. So have confidence in yourself. And I think that it's always possible to catch up and be successful, though perhaps with a time lag versus your previous colleague. But that extra experience that you had outside your job, your career, is never wasted. And also, though it might not be easy, try to find time to study. And for example, in my industry, the financial industry, it really helps to study, to get a license, to get a certificate, something to prove your commitment to wanting to build your career. So for example, CFA in my industry will definitely help. And it takes time to get the CFA, but you can always say, I started studying for the CFA and I'm still, level 1 or level 2, but that shows that you're committed, that you want to start your career again. So I think no matter what field, I think there's always something that you would want to study, and that attitude, I think, would always be treasured, by the prospective company. So that would be my advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rie-san. Lavanya, can I request you to please go next?
Thank you. That's my favorite subject, actually. And one, believe in yourself. This is very, very important. And I come across a lot of women in corporate who think they are inferior. We're not inferior just because we are women. Second, don't be apologetic for what you want. If you want more salary, if you want a promotion, if you want to work, don't apologize for that. It's your right. And this is very important. Don't give in to the social pressure of saying, somebody is leaving the baby and going to work, or you know, your. So my husband left his job to move with me to Bangkok, and I heard a lot of society going ba 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 about, how can he leave his job? She should have been leaving her job. Why? This is very important for us. The third thing is, if you want to invest in your self-improvement, invest. Don't hesitate. That also includes, because I think you should be proud of what you are and just carry yourself as you are. There is no need for you to change for anyone. This is very, very important. Confidence comes across, and confidence is what is going to be really, really important for women. So if you're coming back after the break, please understand you have not lost anything. And this is, I know there are many corporates who think that women who take a maternity break, then they come back, they can't get a promotion, or you can't really get a job. Gone are those days. Nobody is bothered. So please don't think a break means a break in your journey. It is not. If you have taken a break, be proud of taking a break, because that adds to your life's experience, and your life experience makes you even more confident. So I would only say those things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lavanya. Miho-san, can I please request you to go next and share your views?
Yes. So I always try to find a market for ourselves that nobody can take over. And I focus on three things always. The first one is to do a job that nobody in the organization or in the society can take over. So like, for example, even if I quit the job or a previous company, like many people actually like approach me and ask like, could you work as a freelancer or advisor as a consultant, even if I leave? So like, because like they know that I am the only one who can do that job. And the second thing is I think of using time for the business or like project until nobody can beat me. So then like we can be the only one and best one to do the job. So for example, I have less working experience compared to the other like professionals. And so like, yeah, I have less experience and less working years. So the only things that I can beat is time, like how much time I commit to myself. And also like, then like we can get the skills. And for example, in the previous organization, I knew that there are not many people who understand startup culture. And also there are not many people who understand like marketing. So I thought these two are the something that I should focus on. And the third thing is show that result based on the number until nobody asks me to do some like simple, small tasks. So like I always think of building the numbers or results or KPI that like everybody can obviously think that's her result. Then like, so that I think we can abolish the excuse of like, for example, that's because of the women, because everybody needs to see the number and like, it's obvious and like we can confidently say that this is what I achieved. So that's my skill. So yeah, and then like after achieving these three things, I think we can always find a market for ourselves, even if we leave the organization or even if we, face the difficult timing in the, for example, now. So yeah, this is my mantra.
Thank you so much. I think these are really wonderful and practical advices. So finding your own niche and also be proud of taking break, as Lavanya rightly said, because I think deep inside most of the people feel that, and women especially when they have responsibilities of family. And Riasan, yeah, we have done a great job so far. So why to restrict ourselves moving forward? Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful opinion. And my last question is, Miho-san, you already shared your mantra, but I am going to repeat it again. So I believe that each one of us really want to be a leader and to inspire people and make a difference in everyone's life. So for that, we all have different styles to encourage, motivate, and support people. What is your leadership style or philosophy, which has been a core DNA to be such a great women leader? So for this question, I would request Lavanya to go next.
It's very difficult to put what you do into a few words, I suppose. But one of the things I would say that I strongly believe in is don't judge people. This is very important for us as leaders, because the moment we start judging, we start creating perceptions. We're the ones who are creating challenges for our own team. So this is very important for us. The second thing that we really need to, a leader never leads in the front. So if you want us to be a leader, we are not managers. There's a huge difference between a manager and a leader. So a leader lets people lead. That's the critical point that I've always followed in my career. And the third thing that is very critical for me is the human connection. Never underestimate the human connection that exists. And it goes beyond cultures, it goes beyond language, because people like to be recognized, people like to be connected, people like empathy. This is very important for a leader to understand we are all human beings first. This is, and please invest in team development. This is important. If you have aptitude and attitude, anything can be achieved in life. So that I would say would be my leadership. I wouldn't call a mantra, but some of the traits.
Thank you so much, Lavanya. And I really wish that all the leaders feel the same and learn from each other. I mean, not to judge people, it's really important. And I think to invest in team, that is something, that's the future of department or company. So I think this is something really important to lead people in right direction. Thank you so much. So, Rie-san, would you like to go next and share what has been your mantra to encourage and motivate people and be a great leader?
Sure. Thank you for your question again. So my answer may be specific to my industry, the financial industry and asset management. As Miho-san mentioned, results are everything in this industry. You can quantify how well you've done, and everyone can see how you're doing, which is actually pretty stressful. So being successful in what you do and getting those results out, hitting the KPIs, is really the fast track to becoming successful in the financial industry. And also, as Lavenia-san just mentioned, human connection is very important. So everybody seems to know everybody else. And it's really important to build up and maintain a strong and respectful network. And this network or human connection will definitely help you in many, many ways, unexpected ways, as you move up in your career path. And I've always been very grateful to all the network, the friendship that I've been able to build up over the last 30 years. And it's just been incredible how we been able to help each other. And I guess this is not just for women, but also for men as well. But because there are so few of us in the financial industry, I felt that it's even more important to maintain that network, the human connection. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rie-san. And I think, yeah, human connection is really important, and that has been a remarkable factor, especially during this COVID time. And this is something I think every one of us is realizing. So, Miho-san, would you like to go next and share or repeat what has been your mantra to be a great, inspiring women leader?
Thank you. Yeah, I already shared a bit, but so I always like the two words that I always keep in mind is no excuse, because I'm something, because I'm young, because I'm woman, or these things. Like I try not to like give excuse for myself, and not like give the others to like provide some excuse. For example, like there are some people who says they're today is very special because we are all like female speakers and organizers of female ladies. But most of the time, like event organizers say like, because like we cannot find female speakers, most of the speakers are male. But this is actually not true. So there is a very great platform that started maybe like a few months ago called Speak Her. And that's the platform for like gathering all the female speakers in Japan. And also, like I think of how to build brand for ourselves. And one of my good marketer friend told me, brand is about like what people talk about you. It's not about what we talk about ourselves. So like especially in startup ecosystem, we need to think of like how to utilize platform, because like each startup is very small, like it has no power compared to corporate world. But by building ecosystem, we can like co-create the great like system for ourselves. So like building brand for ourselves in the same platform will be the very important thing to like create our value in the society, I think.
Thank you so much, Miho-san. I think this is really important, building your own brand. At the end of the day, we are known what we are. So, and especially as you mentioned, it's startup, I think people really don't recognize us by which company we work, or whether it's a global company or not. But especially in a startup, I think people know you by who you are and how you are managing in that. So thank you so much for sharing with us. And with this, we have come to an end of this panel discussion. And thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your honest views and opinion. And I think it has been really inspiring and motivating for all the participants who are there with us today. And with this, we will start with the Q&A session. And we already have first question. So I would like to request Mr. Prasad to ask your question. Mr. Prasad, you can unmute yourself and ask this question to all the panelists.
Swati, we can just to put start their videos as well. So Prasad, please feel free to start your video to ask questions. Only if you want.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Am I audible?
Yeah,
I had some connectivity issues. I'm sorry for that. Thank you so much for this panel discussion. Totally impressed with all the panelists, and it's something very specific that we can take back. As a leader who is handling a team with just one lady in my team, I'm very much careful and very much interested. I have this question for all of our panelists that please can you share with us some small initiatives that you took as women leaders in your workplace so that it started something, and it will be a great learning for me as well, because then probably I can also help and have similar initiatives. One thing I see in Japan is that working women have a lot of difficulty. So in that sense, I would say that maybe we can have more discussions about working women. I'm sorry, I'm not able to start off the video due to technical issues, but I am an active member of IPG. Thank you.
So, Lavanya, would you like to go next and take up this question?
Sure. Thank you. Actually, it's nice that you're asking that question, Prasad. This is very important. I would say we have taken many initiatives over the period, company by company. There are a lot of initiatives that are in place. But I'll tell you what was very, very successful was having this women networking meeting. And this was not, when I say women networking, it's not only women who network. It's actually a group which comes together casually to talk about issues and to help people. Because one of the biggest things that you need for women is mentoring them in their career. There is a constant need to reassure women who are coming back or who are at starting levels in career to really help them understand what it takes to get there. So I think having a mentoring session, having this casual listening session, I would say listen is very important. This helps. You can name it anything. We call it Women at Nissan. There are programs called mentoring programs. We have career development programs. All in all, essence of it is there has to be a platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lavanya.
Thank you, Lavanya. Miho-san, Rie-san, would you like to take up this question and share what do you think about this question, or which initiatives you would like to suggest or you have taken up? Yeah.
Yes, if I may. I completely agree with what Lavinia-san said just now. So at my previous company, Fidelity, I started a women's network platform. So in the beginning, it was just, having lunch with, other women in the firm. And then the numbers kept on growing, and we decided to have like an informal lunch session, once every 2 weeks, sit down and talk about things that bothered us or that excited us or, what have you. And then we eventually put together a formal network. And that led to some proposals to the management of the company that we felt were realistic and that the company can make changes. Then, for example, we often talk about, childcare or sick care leave, what have you. But there's still very little attention towards elderly care. And as we all know, Japan is a silvering economy, a silvering country. So sometimes women have to take care of not only their kids, but also their parents. And they need a lot of time and effort for this. And we felt that the company can do better by providing paid leave for people who need to, put some time into elderly care. So, again, I think there is definitely strength in numbers so that, if you want your company to make some changes, reasonable changes, I think a network or platform, whatever you want to call it, always help. And, again, as Lavinia mentioned, it was a great, network to help each other, to support each other, healthy debates, mentoring, and so on and so forth. So, I highly recommend one if you don't have it, already. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shigekawa. Thank you.
Thank you, Rie-san. So we have next question from Sharvari Shilalkar. So can you please go unmute? Can you please unmute yourself and ask this question?
Sherry, are you there? Okay, I can ask question on behalf of her. Sharvari has asked question on, I will just start my video. Okay. Sharvari has asked question from our IPJ Facebook platform. She says, hi, my name is Sharvari Shirarkar and I'm the founder of FTB Communications and I have invested in several companies. I have a question for Tanaka Miho-san. I'm also working in the startup, and as you know, we have to work with investors, clients, employees. How do you manage time and expectations while maintaining the growth of the company?
That's a difficult question for me. Let's see. Maintaining the I think the let's say very important thing is how we can build a community or like this like group of members, like as a like entire community in the society, like in the same society, I think. So like so like we shouldn't think of like, especially in startup, like everybody is always struggling. So like not only think about like how we can get, for example, profit or like benefit for ourselves, but also like how to benefit the others, like by pursuing the same goals or the similar goals that will be like in the future benefit a society as a whole. Am I answering questions or?
It is going in the distance, but I think Sherry is asking, how do you manage time and expectations? So perhaps you have covered time, but expectation part. You have covered expectations, but about the time part. Is it, how are you dividing your time for personal and the work? Because for startups, I think it is starting from the day to end. It never stops. It's your baby, right? So how do you divide and how do you give time to yourself? Yeah.
Honestly, I'm like work person up until now. But like honestly, after this like remote work happened, I think I can better manage my time, because in corporate I was working more than like now, I think, because I couldn't like control my time in the like as a like salary man. Like so I think to manage time, I decided to like say no to something that I cannot do, or like that if that's too like stressful for me, and if I take that job or like the project, then if I cannot focus on the other like clients, then I would like just honestly like tell them like my timeline is like this, so I can do like this work like from this time for so by saying that like honest like status about myself, I think I am better managing my time. And also for expectation, like I think looking at many legal advisors around me, there are so many advisors who say like you can do it like without knowing the entire like process or entire status about the clients or investors, or for example like financial supporters. But like there is something that we cannot always do. Sometimes we have to say no to the clients, like if they think of too much expectation, and if we cannot achieve, like nobody's gonna be happy. So some of the clients told me that one thing good about you is like you say no to something that we cannot do, so that we can manage expectation in the future and we do not like lose the time in the future. So yeah, that's my strategy kind of.
Thank you so much, Miho-san. I think that was really great suggestions. Lavanya or Riesan, would you like to share your opinions how we can better manage time and expectations?
I always get this question about how do you balance things, but we are naturally born to balance, frankly speaking. It's an individual preference on how much time do you want to give to your work versus how much time do you want to give to your family. It's not a choice. It's not somebody to tell you, or you can divide it by percentage. And most of the time, it's important to understand that you set your priorities. You have to be very clear about it. Nobody else can help you with that. And two, expectations are set, but you have to be clear about. So when you say expectations, again, the definition is who sets the expectations for you. So if it is being set by your work deliveries, that should be straightforward. In most of the cases, we know what is the delivery that is expected out of us. If we do not know, we cannot do the job. That's the first thing we need to know when we start working on any task, to know what our deliverable is. But if it's a personal expectation, that's you who set it. So if you want, and everybody has their own capabilities, and we need to understand this, the concept of thinking there has to be a work-life balance is such a misconceived notion about people trying to talk about it and saying work-life balance means, do I get my weekend to enjoy, or am I working on the weekend? But that's not how it is. Work-life balance, it's about what is your work environment and what is your work style that dictates your work-life balance. If you're a young mother, you may have to spend more time on your family, but as your kids grow up, you may need to spend less time on that. So it's completely up to you. That question, I would say, don't ask anyone, because anybody talks about that balance, they may be confusing you. I might sound very weird, but that's my experience. Nobody balances anything like we balance ourselves.
Thank you so much, Lavanya, for your honest opinion. And I think that's really right and important for us to realize and to work upon it. But yes, it will need some efforts. Thank you so much. Rie-san, do you have opinion to share for this question before we move to next question?
Yeah, so my opinion is very similar to what Lavinia-san just said. I think me or I, you have to set your own expectation and you have to control your time. I mean, only you can control your time. So, because of, whatever family responsibility or, whatever that you might have, if you decide that you have to stop your work at 6, then that's your rule. And if other people are unhappy with it, too bad. And they do get used to it, by the way. So you have to manage your own expectation and your time, and you have to do everything at your own pace. And I think that's best. Some people would really like to run and be XYZ in 2 years. Maybe for you, you're happy to take 5 years to get there, right? And it's your right. Only you have the power to control your own life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rie-san. So our next question is from Kaushika. Kaushika, may I request you to please unmute yourself and you can start your video and ask your question.
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your views. It was lovely listening to all the speakers, and especially coming from all the women teams. So I was really happy. This is my first time to attend something like this on this platform. I let me just quickly introduce myself. Though I'm not like working as a full timer, but I'm a PhD student and I do work part time, and I work like different jobs. So it's not like one job. So it could be like I meet so many corporate trainers and I do work with them. So my question is, though it may sound like a bittersweet or a very stereotype questions, like how can women support each other? Like it's not like my own experience, but many people think that women do not support each other and do not motivate as the male part can do, because they come from a different perspective. And it could be my like narrow thinking, but please correct me and share your thoughts or any anecdotes that in your organization or in your experiences women have supported each other out of their way out, and how could we motivate each other, because there is this feeling that maybe women don't get along with each other very well. And that's kind of I mean, how true is that? Maybe you guys can share, because you guys are much more experienced than me. So I'd appreciate if anyone can share their experiences. Thank you.
Do you want me to take that, Swati?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very close. There is part to, and Kashika, what you said, there is a truth in that. So it's not completely untrue when we say women are the biggest enemies of women, frankly speaking, because in my experience, a lot more criticism comes from their own women colleagues than male colleagues. Be it insecurity, be it as a way of defending ourselves, I don't know what. But I would say one thing that everybody can do is be there for your colleague, stand up for them. If you don't stand up for each other, nobody will stand up for you. This is important. So it has to be a conscious way of doing it for women. If we really want to make a difference for women in general, because women have to make a difference for women, we just need to believe that we can stand up for each other. This has to be basically, before we start asking for reservations or policies and support that we need from entire world, right? I was always against this reservation where they say in India, public transport has women seats, as though you are weaklings. I can understand if you talk pregnant women or, you know, older people, but why do you need women to have special seats? This is a big question for us, right? The second thing, what do we do to support each other? And if you want an example, it's actually example of what we said, be there for each other. And one of my experiences has been, I think it was a couple of years back, we had a discussion about, we have what we call expat assignments. So I'm on an expat assignment for foreign assignments that we go around the world. And there was discussion about a position that has come up in a different country. And we, as a leadership team, we had to take a call. And we had a list of high-performing people that we look at. And there was, the first name was a woman. And the HR person immediately said, oh, we can ignore that and go to the next name. Said, why? Oh, she just gave birth to a child, so she is not going to go to a different country. The question I asked is, why are you making a decision for her? If she doesn't want to go, it's her choice. But did we even ask her whether she wants to go or not? It's a decision she needs to make with her family, not the company who assumes just because she just gave birth to a child, she doesn't want to go. This is a very simple thing. It turns out when the position was offered to her, and she went back and had a discussion, and as a family, her husband supported that they move to that country. because they thought it was a big opportunity with a young kid. I mean, this just shows an example that many times assumptions are made on our behalf because no other voice is coming out. So just one example.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences.